Okay, so here we go. Again, we have our shark, and we just said we're going to draw an oval, and we said it's going to be a skinny oval. One thing that I did notice when I was drawing this first time with the boys is that it's a little bit less on top than it is on the bottom as far as the thickness of it. So it's hard to see here, but a little bit more of him is underneath than above that horizontal line. So I'm just going to draw right now a curve. Remember, there's only two kinds of lines in the drawing world. It's curved and straight. There's a little curve on this. It doesn't curve up too much, so don't make it too fat. There's just a little curve for the top. And then we have a little bit extra curve for the bottom. So when we get to the bottom here, we can add just a little bit more. And there we go. We have our first shape. That's our oval. The first shape is going to dictate where all the other shapes go and what sizes they're going to be. One of the key things to remember is that our shark has to be, if we're going to be drawing a shark that's larger than the one we see, which we drew the oval bigger, then every other shape has to be bigger than what we see originally on here. So one of the things that a lot of people get tripped up on is they start out right, but then they start drawing the same size that they see here onto this one, and it makes it this puny little, he can barely swim because his little flippers are way too tiny. So almost done with this first part of the video. Let's get this part done. So I'm going to pick another shape, and it seems to me that this shape right here is a good shape to pick. That's a triangle, of course. So we got our triangle. So that's our shape. The size of it, well, how big is it? It's not huge, but it's not small. We have to compare it to what we already have. So if I looked at this guy right here, one of the things I might do is think, how many of these could fit along his back? I can even use my fingers, okay? So there's how big it is, and I can start at his nose and say 1, 2, 3, 4. There's about 5 of them which would fit across his back. So if I was to divide this guy up into 5 parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can see that my fin, my dorsal fin, has to be about that big. But these don't tell us where the placement is. This only tells us how big it is. So where is the placement? Well, here's another cool thing I like to do. I'll take that shape, and I've already divided it horizontally. I'm also going to divide it vertically. So I'm going to try to see where halfway on the shark is. And I think it's about there. Okay, there's about the same amount before that line and after that line. So what that tells me is that this shark fin is behind that line. The shark fin, the dorsal fin, is on the other half of the body. So let's just take this one, not even look at these things that we've already made for right now. Let's just divide that basically in half. Okay, poor guy, cut him right in half, just like a wicked tuna. All right, now I can see that that's about where, oh, look at this. That actually worked out pretty good. So behind this line is where my shark fin has to go. So my dorsal fin is going to go in here. I already said about how big it was. That's kind of nice that it turned out that way. The other thing I have to look at is shape, size, location. We found the shape. It's a triangle. We found the location, the size of it, excuse me, which is that big. And we found the location of it behind here. Last thing, hardest thing for the human eye, I think, to see, and that is the tilt. How do we figure out if this thing is going straight up and down, this dorsal fin, or if there's a tilt on it? So let me just show you up here. If this fin was going straight up and down, it would go like this. It would point straight up into the air. And I told my kids, it's like, think of a laser beam or a missile being shot out from there. That missile would be going straight up into the air with a laser beam. This one, if we take a look at where it is, that laser beam is going crooked, okay? It is actually going off towards the right. So that means when we draw this, we have to have it so that it has the same tilt. So what are we going to do? We're going to draw this so that when we draw this, it has a tilt that can show that our laser beam is going off into the nether regions. So there is our fin. And we can also say for that dorsal fin, you say, oh, Mrs. Garlock, how did you figure out how tall it should be? Well, again, we could look at this one. It's about as wide as it is tall. We can even check it with our fingers. So about how wide this is about the same height that it is too. So we've got that. Now we're going to keep going with the rest of these. So I want you to just watch with me. Here we go. So hopefully you've drawn so far this though. I want you to already have drawn the oval, and it's nice and skinny, and how long it was we talked about, and that dorsal fin. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to draw those tail triangles. Now they're kind of funky. there's a couple of ways that we can do it. I think I'm going to change this up where I have traced it, and I'm actually going to make it 2 triangles like that. That's going to be a whole lot easier. That's what I did when I first taught you guys. You probably remember that, guys, boys. All right, so here's what we'll do instead. What we can see is extending from the back of this oval, there is a straight line where these two connect. We can go ahead and figure out about how long that will be. Again, we can compare it just visually with what's already here. So on this one, it's not quite as wide as the dorsal fin is, the length of that line right there. So we can make it a little bit shorter. We see that it's 2 triangles. This triangle right here is really long and skinny, and yeah, it has quite a tilt on it. Look at where it's going. If we look at how high it is also, so if we were to draw an imaginary line, it goes past where that dorsal fin is. So it's definitely taller than that. So what I'm going to do first, which makes my life a little easier, is I'm going to take that little line that we said was kind of where it was pointing, and I'm going to extend it like a dotted line right down to the line that we drew extending from his body. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take this. It doesn't, that little straight line that I've done with dotted line doesn't actually touch the body. It touches just a little bit away from the body. And then I have this dotted line that is on a tilt. I'm going to draw it out there. I know it needs to be longer than that dorsal fin. So if that dorsal fin is about here, my tail fin, the top one, has to be pretty high. So I found out those points. I found out the shape was a triangle. The size we've already figured out. We figured out the location, and we figured out the tilt. Amen. We have a really cool looking tail. Mine might be a little tall. That's all right. Second one, put that line right through it. Laser beam is pointing the other direction. So I've got this right here. I'm going to point my laser beam the other direction. What's the size? The size is pretty small. It's smaller than that dorsal fin. Okay, so I just know I need to keep it to that. So I am going to do about that big. I definitely want, it looks a little bit like a thrasher shark right now. I probably have that top tail fin a little bit long, but he'll look cool. I'm okay with that. Okay, hope you guys are all at this point. If you're not, then I want you to pause. I sound like I'm from Boston. I want you to pause the video right now, and I want you to catch up to this point. Okay? If you've already gotten it done, let's go with the last couple of shapes. I'm going to do them rather quickly. You guys can pause, though, and figure things out as you go. We have just a few triangles left. This triangle that is near the tail and the triangle underneath it. This triangle is small. It doesn't point directly up, but it's pretty close to it if we did our laser beam. It touches the triangle of our tail, so we know that this shape is a triangle. The size is small. The location is way back here by our tail, and we can see there's a little tilt on it. The other one, does that touch the tail? No. We have to come back here a little bit, and then we're going to start it back here. It's another small triangle about the same size as the one we just drew, and it also has a tilt on it, and the tilt is going down towards the right. Last things we have are our last 2 triangles, which are our fins, so he can go and swim. Nice that we have this middle line. I hope you guys drew this middle line, because that's really going to help us place these fins. First of all, I'm going to draw this one. It's kind of small. It's a triangle. It is facing straight down, right? So there's not really a tilt on it. And it is a little smaller than that dorsal fin and definitely thinner. So where does it go, though? If that's the center, that dorsal fin goes, or not dorsal fin, excuse me, that little, the flipper, or whatever we call that, the swimming fin. I should know my biology. This goes a little bit in front of it, of that center line, and is basically pointing straight down. It's not too small. It's not as small as these. Or it's bigger than these. Excuse me. It's bigger than these ones and smaller than this one. Somewhere in the middle. Okay. Last one. Really important guy here. That's your last fin. That one is going to start just to the inside or just to the left of our center line. And it's going to start just above the belly of our beast. Doesn't touch at all the center. Look how far it is from the center of the beast this way. So it starts somewhere up in here. It has a really, really good tilt on it. look at this tilt, pretty extreme. So make sure you have a nice extreme tilt going on. You can even draw the tilt first if you want, but that tilt is going to go pretty extreme this way. So what about how long it is? It's about as long as that tail. So I can figure, see, I have this part's pretty much straight. It's almost the same as the tail in size and shape. Okay, so now I've got that. Last triangle we need to draw is the mouth. So we are going to put the mouth on here. If we only think of this as a shark, chances are we're going to draw the mouth way up here on this center line because we think, oh, let's give him a happy little smile right here. Maybe some teeth and some eyeballs. Well, that's not really what a shark looks like. So what we have instead is a mouth that is on the underside of the shark. So what we'll do is we'll come around the nose a little bit. Okay, and then we have a very small triangle, and there is a little bit of a tilt on it if we were to shoot our laser beam, okay? So we've got our shark. That is the end of lesson number 1, part A. So the next time we come, we're going to refine this. So I hope you guys are all having fun, and join me next time. Love you guys. Miss you.